He brings almost 20 years of experience in sales, management, and human resources. His passion is the dynamic of change, how to prepare for it, how to work through it, and how to succeed. He focuses on productivity through structure and human capital development. Ojinga has trained tens of thousands of HR professionals in 49 states. I'm going to be really curious which state he's missed. He consults, trains, and develops HR and compliance programs within organizations. With Epiphany, Ojinga helps organizations and individuals do more of what they want to do instead of what they have to do. So we welcome Ojinga Carr.
Wendy, the state that I have missed is North Dakota.
Oh, look at you. Okay, I was going to mention one of the upper ones, but I like it.
Absolutely, I've gotten Hawaii and Alaska. Yeah, the state of this is North Dakota. Thank you guys so much. First of all, hopes and wishes for safety for people who are in the headed for with Irma headed that direction after Harvey. I know that was terrible, and everything along those lines. I am a certified high performance coach, and I do train as an independent contractor with Prior as well too. So I travel across the country teaching HR. And what I want to talk about really quickly here today is really just diversity and inclusion through structure. How it is that we can increase our productivity within our organizations. I really appreciate what was just said as far as including and inclusion in those things. And one of the things for me, if I can get my computer to work here, there we go. One of the things that I look at, that one of the biggest things for me is that teamwork makes the dream work. I played football in college. I played sports all the way through high school, and then played football in college. And so I am always interested in the dynamics of teams. And so the most diverse and most inclusive group that I ever was in was on a football team. And when you're on a good team, understand the fact that the greatest thing that I loved about football was that you had 11 people all pointing one direction, and they all had the same goal. And so it did not matter about background. It did not matter about orientation or any of those different things. That's your teammate. That's your brother. That's the person who you're there with. And so it's really important. And so I'm going to give you a sports analogy today. Even if you don't follow sports, I think it'll be pretty easy to be able to follow in what we're doing. Because when I got into the workforce, first as an employee and then as a manager, what I really noticed is that dealing with teams was a lot like dealing with grown 2-year-olds, pretty much. I just really wanted an excuse to put my 2-year-old on the video, honestly. But the thing is that it really is like that as far as in our teams, and not being able to figure out how we can really be inclusive and how we can have the structure that we need in order to be successful in our businesses. Understand the fact that for diversity and inclusion to be a part of what you're doing in your business, it actually just has to be a part of what it is you're actually putting together. It has to be a structure of your organization and what you're doing in your company. So it has to be really intentional in what it is that we're putting together, and that has to be really intentional. And so I want you to understand there was a recent study that talked about the 5 things that motivate your employees the most. And those 5 things are benefits, paycheck, who they work for, who they work with, and what they do. Benefits, paycheck, who they work for, who they work with, and what they do. But those are not in the order of importance for your employees. Now, when I ask this question across the country, more than likely, most people say that your paycheck is the most important thing to your employees. But actually, studies show the most important thing to your employees is who they work with, then who they work for, then what they do, then finally paycheck and benefits. And so in order to be able to create cohesive teams, it is all about figuring out how it is that we can be inclusive of the people who we work with. And one of the biggest ways for that is to be more job centric in our processes and what we do. Many times we find ourselves being people centric in our hiring processes, but in our but in our hiring processes, if we could find people who could actually do the work, that's one of the biggest things. Actually, hiring people who can actually do the work, then tying in the inclusiveness and the diversity, then that will be really important. Because what we find is that we hire people who we are comfortable with. And many times we're comfortable with people who are just like us. And so you have a business that is owned by a woman, and she may be more likely to hire women. You have a business that's owned by an African American, and they may be more likely to hire African Americans. Same thing around. And so we have to be, first of all, structure based and understand the fact that it's getting the job done, and figuring out how it is that we can meld these different personalities, these different types, these different ethnicities, these different things together into a team and figure out how to do that. And so, because I'm an athlete, I look at things from an athletic background. And so I want to give you 4 steps to creating successful teams. All right. So the first thing we have to have is we have to have mutual purpose. Then we have to have empowered people. Then we have to have proper change communication. And then we have to have visionary thinking. So mutual purpose, empowered people, proper change communication, and visionary thinking. You can equal successful teams. I can show you any team, whether you're talking about an organizational team or whether we are talking about an athletic team. And if they are not succeeding, they are usually failing in one of these 4 areas, one or more of these 4 areas as far as with it. So the first thing that we have to have is that we have to have mutual purpose for our teams, mutual purpose. So on a football team, when you get in a huddle, the quarterback calls the play, and everybody knows what the play is. Everybody knows what the play is, what it is they're supposed to get done. Everybody knows it, and it's been communicated correctly to them. So in our teams, are we communicating the mutual purpose of what it is that we're doing, and do we recognize and value what it is that each person has to do within that? If we're concentrating on a goal and on purpose, then we will find ourselves in teams that meld together better because everybody's going to concentrate on the purpose. And so we don't have time to concentrate on our differences and what those things that are different that we don't like about this other person, that we're concerned about this other person. What we are now bonded together to do is to figure out how it is to be able to get something done within our organization. So we have a purpose that we are on together. I consider many of the issues that we deal with today when we think about diversity and not being diverse or being concerned about someone else, it's really white noise is what it really is, because it's just a distraction from whatever our actual purpose is. And so if we can be clear about what our purpose is and have that mutual purpose and our teams get together and we move forward together in that way, then we have an excellent way of being able to get that done and move that forward. But then the second piece of that we discussed was empowered people. So in football, I always knew that the guy to the left and the right of me knew what they were doing. And I could always know that those people to the left and the right of me knew exactly what they were doing. And so they were empowered in order to be able to do it. So are you empowering your people around you to even be able to make mistakes? To be able to go out and make decisions and do those things together? Because when people feel empowered, they feel more together and they feel more directed in what it is they're doing. And so diversity and inclusion to me is all about how is it that we can include people in, and people feel more included when they have responsibilities. And so when you have someone that's kind of going to work and they are just doing busy work or whatever, then they aren't really focused on where it is and what it is to be able to get done and how to be able to knock that out. And so when we empower our people, then now we've given ourselves a better chance of being able to get things done. So we have empowered people that were there. So first of all, we have to have mutual purpose. Everybody's understanding the purpose of what it is we're doing. Then the next thing we have to look at is how it is that our people can be empowered. But the third piece is the piece that usually causes us the biggest issue within it, and that is proper change communication. Proper change communication. So Proper change communication cost me my football career. I was in a game. We were in a loud stadium, and I was playing at a left guard position, and there was a left tackle that was outside of me. The play was initially called away from us. We were running away from us, away from to the right side. The quarterback saw something and made an audible call and changed the play. So now the play would be running directly behind us and directly behind us in what we were doing. Well, it was a loud stadium, and so the left tackle, who was my teammate, who was outside of me, did not hear the play change. And so now I stepped forward to block the guy who was in front of me. He's still doing what we were doing before, which is blocking down, and he ended up diving into my knee and tore every ligament in my knee and ended my football career. Proper change communication is that important in your organizations as well too. It is that important to be able to look at and see, are we communicating change? Because if we're not communicating change, then people now are confused about what it is that they're supposed to be doing, and now we get off of task, and now we have issues, more issues as it relates to our diversity, because now those personality types start to bug against each other and butt heads, and now we have these issues, and now we have problems as it relates to our change communication and the different things with that. And so we have proper change communication, then we can definitely put those things into place and be able to get those things done. But finally, the fourth piece of this is visionary leadership and visionary thinking. So we have to be able to look at and say, what is it as far as that visionary thinking and that visionary leadership? What do we want our organization to look like? Are we putting programs into place? But not only just putting programs into place, are we actually working with our people to look at, in football, the quarterback gets all the credit. After a game, they say they did a great job. But when the first thing the quarterback does is thank their offensive linemen, thank their running backs, thank their wide receivers, those people as far as that, because they're looking at it and they're saying that without all these other working pieces working correctly, we wouldn't be able to do it. So do you have a plan for making sure that you're inclusive? Do you have a plan for making sure that we recognize the diversity of our workforce? Do we have plans for making people feel comfortable and also doing it? If you have a workforce where a great portion of your workforce speaks a different language, are you giving classes in that language for your other employees? So maybe they might be able to understand better, and we might be able to do that and to be able to pull together. These are different things that we can think of and different things that we can do to be visionary in our organizations and to be able to be more diverse and more inclusive in what it is that we are doing. And so it's really important in our businesses, in our country. We're doing nothing but getting more diverse. And so we have to be able to make sure that we show how to be able to do that. And so I appreciate you guys for allowing me the opportunity to be able to just share that and talk about those things and talk about my thoughts and those feelings with that today.